Hey everybody, how's it going? I am your host Adrian, coming to you almost live from lovely Petaluma, California, here in Studio MC2 at Quicksurf Internet Studios. The Geekinator is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Do feel free to head on over to techpodcast.com and check out all the other technology-related shows that we have over there as well. I'd like to encourage everybody to visit us online over at quicksurf.com and subscribe to the show if you haven't already done so. For those of you who have or who have been long-term subscribers, thank you for staying subscribed. And you can also find us over at YouTube, blip.tv, Dailymotion, and Stitcher.com. I'm trying to get on tunein.com. So for those of you who are TuneIn users, the Geekinator and my sister show, Linux News Log, both should be showing up there, hopefully, here this week. Should be pretty interesting. I've got some travel going on next week. I'm actually going to be in Phoenix April 20th through the 28th. So I own a house there in Phoenix, and I'm trying to get it rented out. So I've got to spend a little bit of time there, just getting that squared away and ready to go. So if there's anybody in Phoenix listening or watching, let me know, and we could potentially meet up. I'm staying up by Metro Center Mall, so for those of you who are locals, you know where that is. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the cool stuff that I found for this episode. Over at makemagazine.com, they've got a new video, and it's called A Closer Look at Resistors. Colin Cunningham put it together. He's, every time he does a video, he does really good job. So definitely check it out. He explains basically, resistors. And, for those of you who are into electronics and that sort of thing, it's a pretty interesting read. So definitely worth looking into. From wired.com, SimCity is coming to Macs June 11th. So for those of you who are OS 10 users, I'm primarily an OS 10 user, but I also have, that's not the only computer I have here. I have Windows and a couple of, I have a FreeBSD home server, and, I run Linux and tried various Linux distributions out. Plus I have Windows 7 and, so I've got a variety of operating systems here at the house, but still, nonetheless, it's a good thing they didn't try to launch for OS 10 and Windows at the same time, given all of the problems that they had for just getting it launched for Windows. So if you're an OS 10 user, this is definitely something to look forward to June 11th. Also from Wired, smartphone screen sizes keep on growing, but not for much longer. This is an interesting article. I'm a little concerned about the sizes of smartphone screens, the whole phablet phenomenon. I mean, I understand if that's your only screen, like in developing countries, but I recently upgraded to the iPhone 5. I previously had the 4S, which I was very happy with the screen size. Very good friend of mine who I supplied an older iPhone to, dropped the phone face down, shattered a bunch of glass. So I needed to, basically provide a phone. I originally was just going to go down to the AT&T store, because that phone was eligible for an upgrade. So I was originally just going to go down to the AT&T store and buy the new 99-cent iPhone 4 as a replacement. Well, they were out, and I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to spend more than a couple bucks to give you a brand new phone. So I ended up getting the iPhone 5, because I was also eligible for an upgrade, and my 4S got migrated as a replacement to the 3GS that got broken. So anyway, one of the reasons why I'm even bringing this up is on the iPhone 5 compared to the 4S, it does have a larger screen. It's taller. And I think, at least in this particular form factor, if Apple had made the screen much larger than it is now, I don't have small hands, and the phone is on the verge, in my opinion, at least for how I use it, for single-handed use. I'm left-handed, so, I use the phone like this, right? If it were much wider than it is now, I don't think I would be happy with the phone. I mean, my thumb, let me get it here on the screen here. I can't reach over much further than like right there. So Apple might be able to add a little bit to the width, but not much. In terms of the height, it's about as tall as, the phone is tall enough to where I can't, when I'm holding it like I normally hold an iPhone, I can't push the button on the top without scooting the phone down in my hand. Apple cannot make the phone, appreciably taller than it already is and still expect to have single-handed use. As it is, I already have trouble reaching the top of the screen with my thumb without scooting the phone down to reach the top of the screen with my thumb. I would probably be fairly unhappy with the iPhone if the screen were much larger than it is because, I tend to multitask a lot. I don't like having to use more than one hand to use the phone. I know the keyboards, the whole BlackBerry keyboard thing is great because a lot of people tend to do this with two hands and I am not a two-handed phone user. I am very much a single-handed phone user. And in all honesty, I can't, in that paradigm, I cannot see the iPhone screen getting much larger. I can totally see a smaller iPad, even smaller than the iPad mini that there is now. If they were to take the iPod Touch and make that a 5-inch screen or 5.5-inch screen, I could totally see something like that. But as a phone form factor, again, same thing with the Pocket stuff. If the iPhone 5 were much larger than it is now, personally, and again, this is my personal opinion. Everybody has their own preferences, and what works for me, it doesn't necessarily work for you. But for me personally, I don't I don't see myself being happier with a larger phone simply because I'm, a really heavy single-handed user. I don't use two hands to use my phone, A, and B, it needs to fit comfortably in my pocket, and it's at the limits now to where if it were to grow much larger, I would be very unhappy with it. Anyway, the article here is pretty interesting. Obviously screen sizes keep getting larger and larger and larger. There will come a point, and I think nobody disputes this. There will come a point where you just simply cannot get bigger. You know, it's going to reach that point and probably exceed it a little bit. And people are going to go, wow, that's great. But, after a year or two, they're like, that's maybe a little larger than I really want. So, it'll be interesting to see how how things play out. I'm curious to see how things play out just in terms of, phone screen sizes. For me, I think the iPhone 5 screen size is about as big as I would be willing to tolerate unless they dramatically increase the resolution in addition to, a larger screen. If they made it like, super retina display or something of that nature, where you had like a 2K display where it was 2048 by 1100 and some change, and a 4.5-inch display or something like that. They might be able to make it a little bit wider, but in terms of the height, they're already kind of at the limit for single-handed use. Anyway, from Make.com, a Lego Technique spirograph. There's a YouTube video of PG52's Lego spirograph. Sports 4 speeds for the board rotation and 4 for the arms. It makes these really awesome spirographs. Pretty interesting. Definitely check it out. From Wired.com, Twitter to launch a music service. That's right. If you go to music.twitter.com, you'll see there's actually a website there. There's not much, but it's a clear sign that Twitter's getting into the music business. How that actually happens remains to be seen, but interesting nonetheless. From likecool.com, in their Gear Home Style Car Body Gear 100 section, astronaut Chris Hadfield on how astronauts shave in space. This is a YouTube video, Pretty interesting. Definitely check it out. If you ever wondered how, astronauts who spend a fair amount of time in space, they always look shaved when you see them on videos. Well, they have to shave up there, and it's not quite the same as shaving down here, as is most things up there. So definitely check that out. Pretty interesting video. From Read Write Web in their small business section, 5 reasons working for a hot startup isn't as cool as you think. Now, I've worked for I've worked for more than one startup, and this is pretty much spot on. Number 1, the hours are long. Boy, are the hours long. 2, the pay sucks. For the amount of time you put in, generally, if you're working for a startup, unless you are one of the founding members or you're one of the senior people, the pay isn't that great for how much time you put in. 3, big egos rule. Unfortunately, this very much is the case, particularly among the senior people. They tend to be pretty egotastic. Number 4, distractions. Distractions is just, kind of the rule of the day. The way a lot of startups, particularly here in the Bay Area, the company I work at is no longer a startup now, but was a startup. But if you get down in the Bay Area, I'm in the North Bay, but if you get down in the Bay Area, a lot of startups have an open floor plan for their office. Everybody just kind of congregates into one big room. There aren't really a lot of cubicle walls. There's a lot of socializing and schmoozing going on and that sort of thing. It's hard to get stuff done in that environment, particularly if you're a programmer, and I kind of have a rule at my current job. If I see somebody with their headphones on, leave them alone. Don't distract them unless you need to talk to them about what they are working on right then and there. Don't interrupt them. They're probably trying to get something done, because I know when I'm trying to get something done, I put my headphones on so that I can't, and I go and stick my nose in my laptop so that I'm kind of cut off from everybody else, because otherwise it's way too distracting. And I actually do not like it if I get if I get interrupted by somebody. If I've got my headphones on and I look like I'm totally zoned in, or I'm in the zone and I'm cranking stuff out, I don't like it when somebody interrupts me, unless it is specifically for something that I'm working on. Like if I'm partnering with somebody and he's, and that person's like, oh, hey, I have a question about, this function or whatever the case may be. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're just going to interrupt me to see whether or not I saw a movie XYZ or whatever, don't, and I try to follow that rule for other programmers. If they have their headphones on, they're probably trying to get work done. So you do have a lot of distractions. Number 5, you probably won't last. Many new startups suffer from the revolving door syndrome. People roll in, they, get paid a lot of stuff, realize that it is long hours and the pay sucks, and they leave to go to another job that they think might be better, or whatever the case may be. And, startups tend to have fairly high turnover among the more lower junior ranks. The senior people tend to be kind of the founding members, or they got in early enough that they have no interest in leaving because they have really good stock options and pay packages and that sort of thing. But, everything below that tends to, rotate, to a fair degree. So anyway, I thought it was an interesting read. Definitely check it out. There's always, exceptions to the rule. So, but still nonetheless. From Make Magazine, there's this awesome article here, 47 Raspberry Pi projects to inspire your next build. That's right. If you are trying to get into doing Raspberry Pi stuff, well, guess what? There are 47 projects here that you can use to your heart's content to get Raspberry Pi stuff done. I thought it was pretty neat and thought I'd share it with you guys. Over at YouTube, in the Warner Brothers channel, the Man of Steel official trailer 3, pretty awesome. Definitely check it out. I have a link that'll take you directly to the trailer in the show notes over at quicksurf.com. So if you want to check it out, definitely go look at it. I thought it was great. Can't wait till Man of Steel comes out. It should be out here not too far in the distant future. And with that, that's pretty much it for this episode. As always, please stay subscribed. You can shoot me an email, geekinator@quicksurf.com. Like I said before, I'll be in Phoenix April 20th to the 28th. I'll primarily be working, but anybody who happens to be in the area, if you want to do lunch or do a little meetup or whatever, let me know, geekinator@quicksurf.com, or go to the website, quicksurf.com. I have linked up in the show notes pretty much every way to follow me online and get a hold of me and all that sort of cool stuff. So, with that, I will see all of you on the next episode Friday night. And then the following week, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any episodes out or not. I'll try to bring the gear with me, but I'm not sure how the production schedule is going to go. So it may be a week before you see me after Friday night. And so I'll see all of you then. Bye.